But look, I mean, we got to talk about it. It's sort of the law of podcasts. I know podcasts like The Daily are probably rolling in big numbers talking about the Trump case here. And Matt, could you tell people what's been going on?
So Trump was arraigned on federal charges this afternoon, pled not guilty. 37 charges related to handling of classified documents. That brings his total indictment count, somebody pointed out, to 71,
Yeah.
which is, Barry Bonds type numbers. But let's watch this news clip here. We'll fill in some of the stories. And I just love what's interesting about this is I think there is, and we'll talk about, mention Bronco Marchich's speech and piece in Jacobin, which I think kind of lays the correct significance on different parts of these stories. And then like what exactly the hypocrisy looks like. I think like Biden mishandling as to Kevin McCarthy's, what about? Okay, Trump has documents next to a toilet. Well, Biden has documents next to a Corvette. Like
Yeah.
one, we shouldn't have an overclassification system, but two, that stuff should be public records. That stuff should be public property. The Nixon tapes were Nixon wanted to be like, hey, that's mine, and we're like, no, actually, that's ours, and that is how it should be. And so, like, when Hillary Clinton was doing stuff, it's fucking revolting to see Hillary and the podcast Johns talking about, ooh, what is your feeling about him getting tripped up for something that we all had to act. Was there anybody like more thankful than a liberal when Bernie Sanders said they don't care about your damn
Oh,
emails,
yeah. It was such a
right?
gift.
And it's like it's gross, but also we do have an overclassification problem, and it does get selectively weaponized with regards to politics here. That's definitely
Mhm.
true. On the other hand, I do want to point out like Reality Winner's whole position on this, which is she herself was quoted as saying it was
Could you
egregious.
remind people of who that is just because people.
Yeah, Reality Winner leaked documents purported to, I believe, like election machinery, and
Mhm.
ended up. She's been incarcerated since 2017, 4 years for that. Um, and uh, and yeah, like she got the full force of this, and she's one of many people who, I mean, Bronco's piece goes through when you're not a president or presidential
Mhm.
candidate and you mishandle documents. I don't care about any story. I don't care about you decided to do something out of convenience. You broke the law, you're going to jail.
Mhm.
And that is like there like this is a complex thing to emphasize, I find.
No, totally. Well, let's get to that nuance in a second and just remind people of what's going on because it's pretty good.
Yeah, and we got some good images here.
What we can expect.
An unprecedented arraignment expected to unfold in Miami federal court Tuesday. Former President Trump to be arrested and arraigned on 37 counts, alleging he willfully retained highly sensitive documents on the U.S. nuclear program, military, and U.S. vulnerabilities to attack. Trump calling on his supporters to protest. Security preps underway outside the courthouse. The city's mayor saying this.
We wanted to ensure to the public that we are ready.
On the campaign trail, Trump, still the GOP presidential frontrunner, denying any wrongdoing, accusing President Biden of weaponizing the Justice Department.
We did absolutely nothing wrong.
The 49-page indictment says after leaving the White House in 2021, Trump carelessly stored classified documents containing national defense secrets throughout his Mar-a-Lago resort, in boxes in a ballroom, even a bathroom. Prosecutors say Trump did return some of the boxes last.
Sorry, we'll go back to that bathroom clip.
In a ballroom, even a bathroom.
Okay, so if
That
you had,
that
yeah,
no, sorry. If ever there's a red brown alliance, like that looks like a good communist in Brooklyn's bathroom, right? Just like a bunch
I mean, man, it's a beautiful image. It's one that if you told me it was AI, I would believe. I'd be like, damn, this we need to invest a lot more of a capital into this technology because it's great stuff. Yeah, like, and I want to address one thing. There's the thing coming out about the plan of attack with regards to Iran that Trump supposedly purloined. And I am glad to know about that. But I don't think you can just thank Trump for that. I think you can thank the investigation. You can both thank Trump for purloining it and the investigation of Trump for purloining it into it, right? It's not like he was going somewhere. He was holding on to these things. And it's hard to know like the kleptocratic nature of like why do powerful people want to retain this stuff? Is it for like specific, like, oh, this is going to be worth that to this person? Or is it, oh, a general cache of shit that I get to control and other people don't control? I don't really know what it is. But I think this is pretty clear cut. And I would say like the only time the bathroom door is locked is if there's someone in there taking a shit.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that it's important actually not to miss, what these documents are. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about, for example, like America's nuclear arsenal, allegedly as well, like these battle plans for, an invasion of Iran, which is something that, I think people should take very seriously. Of course, like, the government always comes up with, certain kinds of strategies for all kinds of scenarios, right? But just knowing how reckless both Trump and the Biden administration have been in regards, with Iran. I agree with Bronco again. Another piece that he wrote on the subject, saying like that should be a bigger part of the story, as well, is just how high up and how dangerous and how because these things, like, you can fall into a war pretty quickly, particularly with the United States government's like willingness, for example, to play along with Israel, which has shown itself not only to be hawkish, but by some accounts, like potentially trying to egg on an armed conflict with Iran, which would be devastating for millions and millions of people, right? So that all that stuff is like 100% serious, and people should take it as such. But this is also extremely fucking funny. It's just reminding people, like, basically what he's in trouble for here is that he took a bunch of, classified documents, had them strewn across the Winter White House, which he was calling Mar-a-Lago, in the bathroom, on stages, in a very high traffic area. The Iran story, he just pulls out one of these documents to somebody who is interviewing him, where he also admits that it's like, yeah, I probably should have declassified this to myself, which is like the thing that's really amazing about this case. And we'll talk a little bit more seriously in a second about the general stuff. But the thing that is amazing about this case is just how incredibly incriminating Donald Trump can be to himself, because
The constant undercutting of basically people's defenses of him, like, oh yeah, he was president. Of course, he could declassify. It's like, yeah, when I was president, I could have declassified this. Now I can't.
And just while we're looking at fun stuff, I think this picture is one of the most beautiful things that I've seen of Donald Trump's presidency. The just an incredible shot, and I think really encapsulates him as a man and as a political figure. But yeah, I mean, like, we'll see what ends up happening with this. There's a lot to talk about comparing this, for example, to the other case against him in New York. One, this judge has ruled in his favor before, in Florida. Florida is a state that is a little bit more predispositioned to maybe being more pro-Trump. It only takes one person to create a hung jury against him. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. But look, the level of willingness, the willingness of Trump to sort of refuse to play ball with the government, the recklessness of the way that he was handling, very important government documents, it is something that is like worth making, it is something that is a scandal.
And also, I'll just say, like, there's one differentiating thing. Like, he gave, federal authorities the runaround with regards to, like, hey, return this stuff, more so than, I mean, I don't want to speak for Hillary because I'm not up to date on that, and I frankly, like, believe malfeasance from them. But like that, there's like, if you actually read into like the type of bullshit, like, you can't get away with that. Like, nobody, like, I don't know that Biden could get away with what Trump was doing. Like, yeah, like, go fuck yourself. Oh, we gave you back this. It's like, hey, there's a lot more. Oh, is there? I don't know, but I thought we just want. It's like I don't know. It's very clearly shoddy.
So here are the two kind of more serious points, right? The first one is political. Right, regardless of how reasonable this case is, regardless of how seriously Trump incriminated himself, the fact of the matter is that this is like one of many of these kind of attempts to defeat Trump, defeat the kind of movement that he's created um, through the legal system, right? There has been a worrying tendency, I think, amongst liberals in particular, to want to sort of sit outside of politics, hoping that eventually a referee will come in and sort of shoo away the right wing instead of defeating them politically, defeating them by, supporting things like Medicare for all, a more robust social safety net, economic populist policies, right? There's this kind of hope that if, through some kind of machination, this is going to go away. I'm going to tell you right now, it won't. Um, Even if he goes to jail from this, that movement will not go away. And there's been this kind of deep fantasy that has had very dangerous consequences. Most notably, has been this willingness of people on that kind of MSNBC liberal left to embrace censorship, to be worked up about disinformation, which has been used extremely well by the powerful to try to protect legitimate criticisms of of American empire. And it's something that people should not be comfortable with. It's a very morbid symptom from our failing political culture. The second point is the one that you were bringing up earlier, Matt, is that when it comes down to something like this, you either need to treat the lack of care for privileged documents as a non-issue in the way that it regularly is treated for political figures. Um, Across the board treated in that way. Instead, what we actually get, as you were saying earlier, is that a lot of like level officials have the book thrown at them, regardless of if something bad happened, regardless if it was done with intent, regardless if it was like a reasonable threat to national security. Right? There are different rules at play for the wealthy and the powerful in this country than there are for the rest of us, and you can see that in the many different examples of people who have been punished for these kind of low level offenses. um so like, yeah, the right wing is going to make a big deal about Biden and his documents. They're going to make a big deal about Hillary Clinton and her mishandling of her email servers, right? And they're going to have a point until we either sort of hold everybody to this kind of standard, or we stop basically trying to use these things to threaten folks. And more often than not, right, the really punishing aspect about this is how particularly like the Espionage Act is used to silence and attack whistleblowers.
Yeah. And I think it's almost like we have to do both things, because it's like I simultaneously want to make sure that it's known that that stuff is public property. At
Totally.
the same time, it is like the big problem of overclassification and things that should be public. And I don't think, I mean, I think, was it Ryan Grimm who floated like, if Trump serves prison, Biden should,
Pardon him.
pardon him after a week or so, like that. Like, I don't know what the actual way to strike this balance is practically, or even like in idealistically. But I do know that I'm glad that we know, um, that the WikiLeaks cables that showed that we were pressuring Haiti to not do a minimum wage
Mhm.
because Levi's margins would get affected. Like, that stuff, that's
Yeah.
not what we're talking about with this Trump shit, or even with Hillary or Biden. Like, that's a problem because they're trying to basically protect stuff from the eyes of historians. At least is my, or journalists
Mhm.
immediately is my impression. And like, I'm not sure what the best way to do that, but it's attention.